All right, everybody. So, you know how sometimes there's this buzz about a new app or something? So everyone's like, you gotta try it.
Hmm.
But you're kind of like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. Hmm. That's kind of where we are with this RoleCatcher thing.
Yeah.
We've got a whole pile of their stuff, like their website, some guides they put out, all that
Right.
jazz. And, well, we're going to dive in, figure out if it's actually useful or just more hot air, in this crazy world of job hunting.
Well, looking at this, they're not shying away from making some bold claims,
Quote.
especially about all the AI stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Get hired. Beat the bots.
I've seen those.
It's almost like they're trying to tap into
Yeah.
every anxiety people have about job hunting these days, you know?
Is this thing actually going to make me stand out, or am I going to be just another resume lost in the internet void?
Exactly.
So before we even get into all that, what IS RoleCatcher offering? Like, what's the gist?
Okay, so basically they want to be your one-stop shop for the whole job hunting thing in this day and age. They've got the usual job board stuff, pulling listings from all over.
Right, right.
But the thing they keep pushing, the big deal, is this AI they've got baked in.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that. They keep mentioning this job spec analogist thing, how their AI like tailors your resume and all that. Is that any different from those like resume builder websites everyone and their mom has tried?
It seems like it's more focused, more targeted. Like, you know about those applicant tracking systems, right?
Yeah.
The ATS things.
I refresh my memory.
Basically, it's software, right? Companies use it to filter through applications before a human even looks at them.
So it's like a robot gatekeeper you got to get past just to be seen.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher says their AI, it analyzes those job descriptions,
Okay.
and then it pulls out the specific keywords, the skills
Mm-hmm.
that the ATS is looking for. So it's not just about having the skills, it's about making sure a machine sees them, you know?
Okay, that's both kind of creepy and kind of brilliant, right?
Right.
Like, I'm learning how to game the system, basically.
Whoa.
Is that cynical? I don't know.
Maybe a little. But it does show you how things are changing. The job market, I mean.
Yeah.
AI is a bigger and bigger deal now, and tools like this RoleCatcher, they're trying to, well, give people an edge up in this new world.
Okay, so it's not just resumes, right? They talked about AI analyzing practice interviews, too?
Mm-hmm.
That feels very Black Mirror episode to me. But also, I kind of want it.
Yeah, it definitely plays into that whole wanting feedback, personalized feedback.
Totally.
Imagine, like, you practice your interview answers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this AI picks up on little things, like you using a lot when you talk about teamwork. Or, I don't know,
I'll keep that.
that kind of thing. Insights you might not even notice yourself.
It's like having a personal coach, but way cheaper. Speaking of which, how much does RoleCatcher cost? There's no way they're just giving away this AI magic for free, right?
You're right, they do have a free version, but to get the really good stuff, the AI features, you got to pay for it.
Pick yours.
It's called RoleCatcher Copilot, and it's $4.49 a week.
That's less than I spend on coffee some days. But is it actually good? Like, worth it good? We got to dig into those features, see if they're as good as they're saying.
Let's do it. Their interview prep stuff seems like a big selling point. They got tons of practice questions, but it's the AI feedback that's really interesting, you know?
Okay, so paint me a picture. I'm prepping for this interview, and the AI is watching my every move, listening to every word. Am I the only one who finds that both terrifying and incredibly useful?
It's like having a magic mirror, right? But instead of just showing you, it tells you how to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where they try to set themselves apart from ChatGPT.
Oh, right. They had that whole section in their FAQs comparing themselves to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
They really don't want to be seen as just another one of those, AI things that spits out generic cover letters.
Exactly. They keep saying their AI really digs into your skills and what the job actually needs.
Okay.
So you're not just getting words on a page, you're getting a strategy, figuring out what works, both for human recruiters and those AI gatekeepers.
So it's like they're saying, yeah, the hiring process can be a total black box, but we're giving you a peek inside. Okay, you've got my attention. But before I go sign up, let's talk more about these AI features, see what they can actually do.
Sounds good to me. Let's break it all down, each little piece of it, and see if it actually makes sense. You know, thinking about where AI is at right now and how it affects hiring.
All right, let's do it. Starting with this whole job spec analysis thing, they say it'll optimize my resume so it gets past those all-powerful ATS systems. Is this the secret sauce, or is it just a fancy way of saying they're going to rewrite my work history?
So this job spec analysis, right, it's all about, like, figuring out what a job posting is really saying.
Okay.
It's kind of like, you know how a recruiter, a human one, might look at your resumes.
Yeah.
You worked in customer service, and okay, this person probably has good communication skills, which we need for this sales job, even if the word communication isn't right there in the posting.
Right. Right.
RoleCatcher says their AI does that, but like way faster and with way more information.
Okay, so it's not just sticking keywords in my resume. It's about actually getting the skills and how they, I don't know, translate to different jobs and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually pretty cool, but how does it actually do that? Like, does it rewrite my whole resume for me, or is it more like giving me suggestions?
From what they're showing, it's more like you're working together, you and the AI.
Yeah.
So it looks at your resume,
Mm-hmm.
compares it to the job you want, and tells you where you can improve.
Okay.
Be like, hey, add these keywords, or maybe emphasize this skill more, or even like rewording some things to match how the job posting says it.
So it's like a super-powered thesaurus that also went to business school.
Pretty much.
Man, I could have used this when I was applying for internships back in the day. I had no clue what half those job titles even meant, let alone how to make my resume fit them.
And that's exactly what RoleCatcher is going for,
Yeah.
that feeling of being totally lost in the job search, especially if you're just starting out or trying to switch careers.
Yeah.
Having some AI help sounds pretty good in those moments.
It's like that moment when you're putting together, like some furniture from,
Oh, I know what you mean.
yeah, with little diagrams and all that. You try to do it yourself, but eventually you just got to look at the instructions. Sometimes you need help, even if you don't want to admit it. But okay, let's say I've used RoleCatcher. My resume is perfect. I got past the robot gatekeeper. Now what? I still have to talk to a real person
Right.
in an interview.
Oh, for sure. And that's where their other big AI feature comes in, the interview prep stuff.
Right.
They say they have this huge database of interview questions,
Oh.
which is helpful. But the feedback, that's the really interesting part.
Right, because even if you know what you want to say, like actually saying it calmly and clearly in an interview, that's a whole different skill.
Totally.
Trust me, I've bombed enough interviews to know. So how does this AI interview thing even work? Am I like talking to a robot recruiter on my computer?
It's not quite that, but kinda.
Sure.
So you record yourself answering practice questions,
Hmm.
and then the AI, it analyzes it, the video, like how you're talking AD, your body language too.
Okay, now this is getting a little too real for me. Are they analyzing my micro expressions? Like, can they tell if I'm secretly panicking inside?
I don't think it's that advanced, or at least they haven't said it is.
Okay, good to know.
But the point is, the AI might catch stuff you're doing that you don't even notice, little things that could be holding you back in an interview.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, it might say, hey, you talk really fast when you're nervous, or you don't make eye contact when you're talking about difficult subjects.
Oh, wow. I actually had a friend who used something like this, but for a presentation, not an interview, but still.
Really?
Yeah, and it totally helped her. She had no idea she was swaying back and forth the whole time, which was super distracting.
Yeah, we don't always see those things in ourselves,
Totally.
And in an interview where everything matters, those little things can make a big difference.
So this could be good for someone who, like, rambles when they're nervous, which I do sometimes.
Happens to the best of us.
Or for people who just haven't done a lot of interviews and don't know what to focus on.
For sure.
But, okay, how do I know the feedback is actually good? Like, that the AI knows what it's talking about?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
It all comes down to how good the AI is, how well it was trained.
Yeah.
If it's just giving generic advice, that's useless.
Totally.
But if it can give you specific, actionable stuff, that's where it gets really helpful.
Right, like be more confident isn't helpful, but if it tells me I sound bored when I'm talking about my tech skills, that's something I can actually work with.
Exactly.
But before I go all in on this AI interview coach, we got to talk about the elephant in the room, right? Data privacy. They're looking at my resume, my videos, maybe even my social media. That's a lot of info to hand over.
Oh, for sure. That's a really important point. And honestly, it's something anyone using a service like this needs to think about. They do have that data protection policy in their terms and conditions, the legal stuff. But it's always good to actually read it, see what they're doing with your info, especially with AI involved.
Right. Like, are they selling my data to advertisers or something?
Exactly.
Are they using it to, like, train their AI even more? We need answers, people.
Absolutely. It's about
Really?
transparency and trust. Like, can you control your data, delete your account and everything? These things are really important to consider.
So we've talked about the good, the AI and all that, but also the kind of scary parts, like what's happening with my data. Feels like a trade-off, honestly.
Yeah, there's always a balance, right? With any new tech, really.
Okay, but big picture time for our listeners. Is RoleCatcher really worth it? Or is it just another one of those things that sounds good but doesn't really deliver?
That's the million-dollar question. And honestly, it's different for everyone, isn't it? Depends what you need, how much you can spend, if you're even comfortable with all this AI stuff in the first place.
Mm.
Like for someone who's completely lost in the job search, that 450 a week, it might feel like a steal to have some help.
Yeah, especially if it helps them find a job faster or even get paid more. Could easily be worth it in that case. But I can also see how someone might be like, nah, I got this. Especially if they're already good at this whole job hunting thing, you know?
Exactly. You got to figure out where you stand. And remember, even with all the fancy AI stuff, at the end of the day, it's just a tool, right? It's not going to magically get you a job,
True, true. It's like, what's that saying? You can lead a horse to water.
but you can't make it drink.
That's the one. RoleCatcher gives you the stuff, but you got to do the work. Speaking of which, they sent over this whole guide how to become a contact tracing agent. It's like, okay, random, but now I get it. It's like an example, right?
Yeah, like here's how to use our platform. They break down this whole career path, what skills you need, even different job titles you might see as you move up. And they're showing you how their AI helps you at each step.
And what's interesting is the skills they talk about aren't just for healthcare, you know?
Yeah,
Communication, data entry, problem solving. That's useful everywhere. It's like they're saying, even if this isn't your dream job, figuring out how to explain what you're good at, that's always useful.
so true. Things change so fast these days. Knowing how to adapt, learn new stuff, that's key.
Yeah.
Tools like this, whether you use them or not, they make you think about that.
They're holding up a mirror to the future of work.
Yeah.
AI is going to be everywhere.
Mm.
And we got to be ready, like it or not.
Exactly. So instead of asking, is this thing worth it?
Yeah.
Like it's a yes or no question.
Mhm.
Maybe it's more about what can we learn from this, even if we don't use RoleCatcher itself? How do we even approach job hunting when AI is running the show?
Big questions, right? I'm going to be thinking about that for a while. All right, for everyone listening, what are the key takeaways here after diving into RoleCatcher?
Number one, AI is changing how we find jobs, period. This is just the start. We can choose how we deal with it, but ignoring it completely, probably not the best move.
Yeah, hiding from the future never works out.
Hmm.
And number two, no matter what tools you use, being able to explain what you're good at, making your application stand out, showing your value to companies, ND to algorithms, that's more important than ever.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Mm-hmm.
Be ready to adapt. Put yourself out there. Keep learning new things. Those are the skills that never go out of style, no matter what the future holds.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for exploring with us on the deep dive. We'll catch you next time, same time, same place.